Hello, fitness business nerds. What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Business for Unicorns podcast. I'm super excited for today's conversation. I always love having this gentleman on the podcast. So back again, it's Julian Barnes, who's the co-founder and CEO of Boutique Fitness Solutions, or the BFS Network. Welcome back, Julian. How are you?
Hey, Michael. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. It's great to see you.
What a treat. I know we were just catching up before we started recording. Haven't seen each other in a while, but you're always up to something that's so inspiring. You're always doing such great work that this industry desperately needs. And so I'm so excited to have you on and pick your brain about the things you and your team are learning. Maybe to get things started for folks who don't know the BFS Network, maybe share a little bit about what you do, who you are, so our audience can kind of get oriented to your work.
Great. So the company is a market intelligence company and growth accelerator for fitness, beauty, wellness businesses that seek to scale. We've been around since 2018. My background is, I like to say, athlete, educator, and entrepreneur, in that I was a competitive tennis player in my teens and became a certified tennis instructor when I was in law school. In fact, my first teaching job as an educator was teaching tennis. Did that summer before law school and then throughout law school. And then the business educator side of me started in 2020 when NYU, New York University, invited me to start teaching over there. And I created their first ever institute in entrepreneurship and small business management. And then in 2015, the Swedish Institute College of Health Sciences in New York City created an advanced personal training program. So which was an 18-month degree granting program that trained aspiring personal trainers and prepared them for their NASM and NFCA certs. I taught the marketing and management class, which was a 15-week trimester, 3 times a year, to people who wanted to become personal trainers. And our graduates were so well prepared that when they went to a place like Equinox, they usually skipped over tier 1 and went straight to tier 2. So I spent the last 20 years teaching small business owners how to run a business. The last 15 years working specifically in the fitness space. I guess I should mention I was also the director of marketing for Velocity Sports and Fitness back in Park Avenue in the mid-aughts. So athlete, tennis player, training personal trainers, marketing for a personal training studio. And now at BFS for the last 8 years, we have been providing a range of programs from events to coaching and peer networks, and now really emphasizing data, all of which is designed to help the business owner, the existing multi-location business owner, have access to better information, better data to help them scale their business.
I love that. Thank you for giving us such a great background. I love your story for a few reasons. One is that, you have such a unique perspective on the industry, having come at it from so many different angles. And I love that that's represented in BFS and the work you're doing now. You're still coming at the industry from multiple angles. And the fact that you're focused on data right now makes me so happy, because it's one of the things that we struggle with all the time at Business for Unicorns is giving our members access to good data about our industry. There's not that many people collecting it or making sense of it in a way that I like, at least. And we can always rely on you guys for putting out fantastic reports. I'm sure we'll talk about some of those reports today.
Well, we wouldn't be able to produce that without our partners like Business for Unicorns. We're not creating the data. We are just aggregating data, and we need our partners to encourage their clients to share the data. It really is a win-win-win. No one loses by everyone having access to better data.
Yeah.
Period.
And
no one loses.
It always gives me the perspective, having worked in other industries, that fitness is still a relatively young industry. We know very little about ourselves.
1950.
Exactly.
The fitness industry started in 1950.
Yep.
The boutique industry started with Barry's in 99. So you're talking 25, 26 years compared to law, finance, medicine, which are thousands of years old. So very young industry, still building the foundations of it.
Yeah. Well, let me jump in with my first question. There's so many things I want to pick your brain about. So one of the things that you do at BFS is you have these kind of CEO peer networks. And I know you've kind of moderated these CEO peer networks for years. I'm sure you've advised hundreds of gym owners at this point. And so I'm just curious, I want to start just focusing on like individual behaviors of gym owners. What are the behaviors or habits you see the most successful gym owners and CEOs have that our listeners could learn from?
They invest in professional development.
Mm,
Period. Hard stop. Right.
yeah.
So it's funny. I was on another podcast a couple weeks ago, and I ended it by talking about Mark Fisher's famous reading list.
Oh, right.
I always cite Mark as the, what's the best word?
Biggest nerd.
The best example of how anyone can teach themselves
Yep.
what they need to learn nowadays. You don't have to go to Wharton.
Nope.
You don't have to go to Harvard, but you have to be curious and committed to continuous professional development. And in fact, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to a young guy who's works the front desk at a big box gym in the city. He was thinking about his next options within the fitness industry, and I recommended sales. And I said specifically, it doesn't matter what title you have. You will either be responsible for selling, or you have people working for you who are responsible for selling. So if you're starting your career, I say, go learn how to sell. And then I said to him, and this guy's probably 30 years younger than me, the benefit you have now is you have YouTube and you have ChatGPT. Can you imagine how dangerous Mark would have been 15 years ago if he had YouTube and ChatGPT, not reading books at 2 times speed? So the number one criteria I see among successful people is a willingness to invest in their professional development, which can be reading books, listening to podcasts, taking classes, going to conferences. When I see our members going to URSA or going to Fitness Tech Summit or going to Beyond Active, and they're investing a couple $1,000, that's always impressive. And when I see them bring their team members with them,
even better,
another couple thousand.
Yeah,
right?
Even better.
It's very much a self-fulfilling prophecy. The people who are our members have already made an investment. So you're asking me, what do I see among our members? I'm seeing people who've made an investment. But I've also seen, I've also seen, we're just going to have a blunt conversation today. So I won't sugarcoat it.
It's a safe space.
If you look at where our attrition has been in our cohorts and our peer network for the last 5 years, it's been among people who've been unwilling to make the commitment to professional development. Period. Right? Regardless of, sometimes it's not even about money, because we've had programs that are really, a couple $100, but they've been 1 hour a month. And people couldn't make the 1 hour a month commitment. And so rather than agonize and pull out my hair over them leaving, I came to recognize that they weren't a good fit.
Well, listen, Julian, you're healing my wounds today here with this conversation, because we see the same thing. People in our Unicorn Society group, the number one reason people leave, they tell us during their exit interview, is I did not make the time to use the group. And it's often not finance. Once in a while, we have people who are in a cash crunch, and we'll help them through that. But I mean, it's exactly that. It's the people who invest are at the retreats. They're coming to the weekly live trainings we offer. They're using all of their coaching hours, and they're bringing their teams to the retreats as well. It's not a coincidence that the people at our retreats we do twice a year, the ones who have their teams there are the ones who are leading the pack in terms of impact they're making.
You and I aren't creating this. Bill Gates has been saying this for years. Buffett's been saying this for years. When they ask what's the most important trait of leaders, reading, setting aside time for reading. And again, we have tools nowadays where you can listen to podcasts at double the speed. ChatGPT can become your coach. You can listen to YouTube videos. So there really is no excuse. And the audiobooks on Spotify and Audible, there is no excuse.
The information is free.
It just takes... It takes the same level of commitment to developing the business muscle
Hmm.
that your listeners are urging their clients to make in their fitness journey, the same type of commitment.
Yeah, well said, my friend. Well said. Let's turn our attention to these amazing reports that you put out. So you put out these kind of, I don't know if you still call them this, but this kind of state of the industry reports, right? Which I think are full of amazing data and insights. And so I'm just curious, you put out some in this most recent October. We're recording this in December. And so, what are some things from your recent reports that surprised you?
Well, let me show you one of them just so you can get a sense here. Do you see this?
Yeah, great. So for those of you who are watching on video, you can take a look at the screen, and Julian will walk you through what the report looks like. Yeah.
Look who's in it, first of all. The report includes insights from quite a few of the who's who of this industry. You recognize some of these names?
Yeah.
Todd Durkin, Mark Fisher, Vince Gabriel, Luca Hocevar, Rick Mayo, Andy McCloy, Pat Rigsby, Chris Travis. No bums in that list, right?
Yep.
Especially maybe this Mark Fisher guy. Then if you look at the table of contents, you can see what we get into in the report. Business overview, followed by a team overview, business model, marketing and sales overview, and then a directory. So that's what's in the report. People can find that at bfsreport.com or bfsstrength.com.
And we'll put that in the show notes, of course.
Yeah, the report is free to download. And again, thanks to Business for Unicorns for helping source some of the studios that participated. So, biggest takeaway, probably three.
Hmm.
Number one, the one I was not expecting was the correlation between having a dedicated manager
Mm.
and top line revenue and top line profits.
Mm.
So let me focus on two words, two things. Dedicated manager.
Mm.
A dedicated manager is someone whose primary responsibility is running the business. It is not your trainer who you pay to do an extra 5 hours of admin work and sending emails to clients. That's admin work. That's not a dedicated manager, right? So it doesn't have to be someone doing the job 40 hours a week, but it has to be their primary responsibility as opposed to them being a coach who does some admin work. So the studios that invested in a dedicated manager had higher gross revenue and higher profit margins.
Mm.
And that first point, the higher gross revenue, is important because you can be an owner operator business where you're doing most of the coaching or half of the coaching,
Mm-hmm.
and you have one or two other coaches, and because you're doing most of the coaches, you have limited payroll, you have limited expenses, so your actual profit margin could be 50%. So high profit margin, but your gross annual revenue has a ceiling.
Yep.
And it has a ceiling because it's impossible to coach half the time and then do all of the other things that are required to grow your business. And I say this without judgment because maybe that's all you want to do. Be a trainer, have one or two other trainers, afford you the quality of life that makes you happy, supports you and your family. That is fine. There is no judgment on that. There's no shame on that. If that's the quality, if that's what you want and that makes you happy, great, do it. Understand that business model has a limit on income because it's impossible. Well, I'm speaking in a world where we're not yet fully maximizing AI.
Sure.
Okay. Come back in 2 years, and I will probably have a very different response to what's possible with one person and two training. But today's world, there's a limit to how much an owner-operator business can make. So that's takeaway number one.
Well, I think that's really fantastic, Julian. I'll just also reflect that I think we see that just anecdotally with our members as well. It's the ones who invest in team members outside of an owner who also have part of their responsibility, if not a majority of their responsibility, dedicated to growing the business, not just serving clients, just really exponentially changes their trajectory. It's
Yep.
because when it's one owner, or even I'll even say we have a lot of owner partnerships, even if it's two people in the ownership seat, right? The two of them just still have limited capacity for growing the business when they're also on the floor a lot. So having someone else on the team who's also invested in growing the business is such a game changer.
And so that leads to takeaway number two, because they're directly related. This is the good news that I was referring to in our pre-call.
Oh, good.
We created a framework. We identified that there was a framework that existed among the profitable studios and gyms in our survey. Those profitable studios and gyms do three things consistently. They find new leads at an average of 50 new leads per month. They enroll those new leads at a 30% conversion rate of trial to show, and of lead to show, and a 30% conversion rate of show to next purchase. So they find, they enroll, and they retain their members by reducing churn to 5% or less. They find, they enroll, they retain. So the second key takeaway from the report is the framework, FER, find, enroll, retain. And it directly relates, so it's good news because anyone who's been searching for the magic pill of growing your business, the business equivalent of Ozempic, it doesn't exist. And that's good news because it means that regardless of whether it's a company like Orange Theory and Barry's and Soul Cycle and Solidcore, or Michael and Mark's gym, in upstate New York, no one has access to some hidden secret that the big guys have. You don't have. No. All of the successful studios across the board do those three things. Any business owner can do those three things. Those three things, find, enroll, retain, require a consistent, rigorous commitment to implementing systems. It doesn't require you to spend $10,000 a month on a marketing agency. You don't have to have the fanciest website. You don't have to have the fanciest gym. We have a member in West Hollywood on Melrose Avenue whose gym is literally, it's a former garage turned into a gym. She does $1 million out of that space, right? Doesn't have to be fancy. So find, enroll, and retain is the second takeaway. And it directly relates to the first takeaway, because when we say a dedicated manager, what are the primary responsibilities of the dedicated manager?
Those three things.
Those three things. The dedicated manager has to find new leads, has to enroll those new leads, and has to attain those new leads. And the reason the owner-operator model has a very hard time reaching higher gross annual revenue is you can't teach and train 50% of the time and find, enroll, retain. Hard to do both.
Yeah, well said, my friend. And I think it's as simple as it sounds. We know it's simple, but it takes work. It takes discipline, effort, organization, systems need to build. And and I think that, like you said, I hope people hear that as an empowering message, that the things that it takes to build a thriving gym are the things you all can do. There is no magic sauce.
Correct. It's definitely within. It's an accessible formula, is what I like to say.
Yeah, well said.
And third, so let me break down how accessible that is. So the average profitable gym and studio in our survey had annual revenue of at most $500,000. I don't know exactly what it was because we had income levels of less than $500,000, $500,000 to $1 million more. And so the average profitable studio was less than $500,000. Okay, so let's take $500,000. 10% of $500,000 is $50,000. So if you're at a 10% profit margin, well, let's say you're break even. you're break even and you want to get to 10% profit margin, you only need an extra 50,000. I say only an extra 50,000. 50,000 is $4,100 a month. How do you get to $4,100 a month every month? Well, assuming an average monthly membership of $175, if you enroll 2 net new members at $175 a month, every month for 12 consecutive months, on the first day of the 13th month, you will have increased your profit margin by $50,000. So what am I saying here? In terms of an accessible formula for success, can you go get 2 net, right? We have to account for attrition. So maybe 3 to account for attrition. Can you go get 3 new members every month? 3. That's asking for referrals from existing members. That's outreach within your neighborhood, making sure every local business, every local church, every local apartment building, every restaurant, every group of people, alumni groups, you name it, make sure that they know you exist. 3 new members every month for 12 consecutive months. It's
Yep.
an extra $50,000.
Yep. It's doable. It's doable.
I'm not
Right?
saying
And
it's easy.
yeah,
I'm not saying it's
exactly.
easy, but
And it takes someone whose job it is every day to make that their number one priority.
correct.
Yeah.
Now, even if you're coaching, let's say you're just starting out and you are coaching half the time and you can't afford a manager. Well, I just gave you a formula that will allow you to afford a manager in 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Running a business is not easy. So the first year, yeah, you may be coaching 50, 60% of the time. And what the good news is, if you're that small of a business, you don't have a big staff to manage. You don't have a huge payroll to manage. You're probably using really basic operating systems to run the business. So you have time to go out there in the afternoons or in between the midday and the evening sessions. And every time you have an extra hour, just go visit 3 more businesses.
Yep.
Right? So maybe you can't afford to make that investment in a manager now, but I just gave you the formula that can increase your company's revenue by $50,000 in year 1. I mean, after 12 months, and that $50,000 can be your manager. So now you've hired a manager,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe you hire. You can do things in phases.
Sure.
So maybe you hire a coach who has desire, ability, aptitude, outgoing demeanor, a coach who trains in the morning and does this in the afternoon for you. Right? You can figure it out, but 2 or 3 new members every month doesn't require you to spend $2,000 to an agency and another $2,000 a month in ads, $4,000. You don't need to do that to get 3 net new members. And remember I said, was it 20 years ago, 15 years ago? I was director of marketing for Velocity Sports Performance.
Yep.
This is what they hired me to do,
Yep.
to go out in that area and make sure every business knew we existed. So yes, I've stood at tables on at the street fairs
Yep.
in New York City when people are walking by looking for all the the food out there handing out. You do that. You hire someone to go out and do that, or you do it yourself, or you offer barter system. I'll give you access to 2 classes. You go do this, but it's 3 net new members per month. So.
Yeah. I love that focus. I love so much about that. I also love your focus on kind of grassroots, neighborhood, get out there in the community. We even have a playbook for our Unicorn Society members. It's about how to set up a table at a local community event. Right?
Oh,
How to make it
I go deep into that.
right. It's so important.
Someone asked me about this a couple weeks ago. I've done a lot of events, so I'm going to go way down a rabbit hole.
Go for it. I love a good event strategy. I think too many gyms overlook events and community engagement as lead generation.
Okay.
It's just
if you're going to buy a typical banner stand, which is I think between 6 and 7 feet.
Yep.
Average man is 5'9". Average woman is 5'4". How often do you look at someone's shoes when you're standing? Rarely. Right?
Yeah.
You're not looking
never.
down.
Yeah.
So don't put any important information on the bottom third of the
Yep.
banner stand. I
Yep.
see companies put the QR code, their website, the
And
URL
then
on
it's
the
hidden behind
bottom.
a table or a chair.
It's hidden behind a table, or you're asking someone to look at my shoes.
Yeah.
Put the most important information on the banner stand in the middle of the banner for the average American who's a 5'4" woman and a 5'9" man.
Mm-hmm.
And
I,
big
I love
banner,
it.
big logo up top,
I love it.
the CTA in the middle, the QR code in the middle, the URL in the middle, nothing on the bottom third. There's
It's
my
important. That
banner
stuff
stand right there.
matters. If you're going to put in the effort of going to set up a table at a place, you gotta make it work for you. The other thing I love about the approach you're describing here, Julian, is there's so many. It's such a parallel path to what we help our clients do at the gym every day,
Yeah.
which is we help our clients at the gym recognize that there is no quick fix solution. And often the quick fix solutions have this kind of rebound effect, getting you back to where you were before pretty quickly, sometimes back to worse than you were before pretty quickly. But it's the small, consistent effort every single day that makes a difference. And the fact that you're making a big point here of like 3 new members a month, 2 net new members per month can have this huge impact of in a year being able to hire a new staff member, right? That it just shows that, and that we teach our clients that the same thing, right? Just show up, 2 workouts per week, 3 workouts per week, just get in the door. We'll help you with the rest. We're saying the same thing to you, gym owners, right? Just one foot in front of the other, small, consistent effort is what pays off over time. You don't need that $10,000 a month agency. I mean, some of you might be at a place where you might need a marketing agency, right? But for most of you listening that are in that kind of messy middle of the startup mode, it's about these habits that you build every day that make the difference. So I'm so glad you're sharing this, Julian.
And there's one other thing that I forgot to mention that's directly related to the three
Yep.
net new members. We asked studios in the survey what their most effective lead generation tactic was. And by far, number one by over 50%, referrals.
Yeah.
The second response was paid ads,
Mm-hmm.
but it had less than half the number of responses as referrals. So again, I should say all the data that we cite is from profitable studios. So these are profitable studios saying referrals is number one
Yes.
by more than 50%.
Yeah, we even tell our Unicorn Study members we won't let you. I will fight against you. You're running paid ads until you can prove to me that you have a really great organic machine running for referrals already. And so you can show me that you have that locked down and in place.
Yep.
I'm not letting you spend a dime on any paid advertising. It's got to come first. So I'm so glad.
Waste of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
I should say that we, unlike your business partner, Mark, who you guys ran a business and Mark was coaching, we're not that. Mm-hmm. And so we don't talk about the front of house experience, except in the following manner. Your systems, you could have, the phrase in the gym world that you can't out-train a bad diet?
Mm-hmm.
The same thing. Your systems can't compensate for poor training and coaching. So we assume that your coaching is on point. We assume you're going to perform better, or IDEA, or whoever is, or NASM, wherever you can get front of house coaching from the Mike Boyles and Todd Durkins of the world. We assume you're doing that you are delivering a world-class experience, you're impacting people's lives, you're changing their lives. That comes first. We don't talk about that because that's not our area of expertise, but that comes first. I just wanted people to hear that.
Yeah.
So then when you ask for the referral from an existing client to whom you have helped transform their life, it's an obvious yes, of course. They go hand in hand. The referral is easier when you are transforming your client's life first.
Yeah, well said, Julian. Well said. All right. Well, we could go on all day. I think I might maybe have time for maybe one more question. So I'm going to make a pivot here at the end here to cover a topic we haven't covered yet. But I know you and I think I've both been vocal. I know I've heard you be vocal about issues like access and equity in fitness. And a lot of studios, have a hard time reconciling being profitable with their desire to be more inclusive and accessible to communities who maybe are priced out of their services on a regular basis. I hear this all the time from places in New York who by definition have to be pretty pricey to survive. And they really want to open their doors to more people who can't afford them. And so, what have you seen gym owners do to try and reconcile that ability to obviously remain profitable with the desire to serve people who maybe are outside of their price range?
We could be here for a long time.
I know it's another podcast, I'm sure, but we'll do our best in the time we have.
So let me say that there are two issues.
Yeah.
There are two aspects of this issue. One is what your team looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is who your clients look like. You have more control over your team than your clients. Okay. And in this industry, there's no dearth of qualified Black and brown coaches. So if there's a fitness business in New York City that doesn't have any Black and brown coaches, well, that's intentional, because there's no excuse. You can throw a rock and hit, a ton of Black and brown coaches. So on what does your team look like? That is squarely within control of the business owner. What's not in control, or not as much in control, the owner controls where they choose to open this, what neighborhood they choose to open the studio.
Sure.
So if they choose to open a studio in less diverse areas like Upper East Side, Tribeca, West Village, then no, I'm not going to hold them accountable for not having a diverse clientele, because most people in the country don't want to walk more in New York City, walk more than 5 minutes, and in the rest of the country drive more than 15 minutes, right? So your clientele is going to represent the neighborhood you chose to operate in. So beyond that, this is where you and I may disagree. We're about to find out. I think your first responsibility is to your family, and then your team, and then your clients, in that order. And that means charging as much as your members can afford to drive profitability. And so that statement by itself is not particularly DEI friendly, but it is recognizing your primary responsibility is your family, and then it's to your ability to meet payroll and the commitment you've made to your team, and then it's to your clients, right? So if you do that, you may find yourself with a diverse workforce, but a homogenous clientele. And you have this DEI value system, and you're conflicted by the fact that your clients are not diverse, but you're profitable. That profit gives you the ability to address your value system in numerous ways, by volunteering at local organizations in your communities, or maybe not the neighborhood where your studio is, but in underserved communities. As we know, unfortunately, a lot of municipalities and states have cut gym out of classes. So can you coach? Can you teach at a school? Not even a local school, at a school. Boys and girls clubs, local YWs. There are many ways you can volunteer with your time and resources after you become profitable. So maximize profitability first, and then there's a myriad of ways you can contribute to helping people who can't afford your training program to get access to what you offer. That would be my long response.
No, well said. I think we agree 100%, Julian. I was going to say something very similar if I had to answer my own question, which was, I think, having worked in the nonprofit space for any years myself, for-profit and nonprofit companies are different. Your obligation is to your family, to your team, whose jobs you've promised, and to your clients, whose money you're taking to deliver a service. So I think those absolutely are your priorities. And then once you do have those systems in place that have hopefully brought you some profit, there are a million and one ways, from community classes you can offer on a sliding scale, to scholarships you can give out to students, to time and money you can give to local or not so local nonprofits. There's so much you can do once your house is in order. And I think, and many Unicorn Society members do that, right? And have opened their gym to people who traditionally can't afford services like ours, but they did it after they got to a place that was relatively stable
Right.
in terms of profitability. So I do think that formula makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it's profit first. I think there's a book by that title.
Exactly. Well, let me wrap things up here. Thank you so much, Julian. We could go on all day. I'm sure if we dove into your reports even more, we could make this, several hours long. But I want to end by encouraging all our listeners to go get the reports. The link's down in the show notes for the report that Julian previewed earlier. And it's full of fantastic data. And if you need help figuring out what to do with that data, reach out to us. We're both here to help and make sure that you know how to apply that information in a way that is useful and helps you grow your gym, helps you do more with less. And we're here to help. Julian, any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
Yeah, let me put the report in context. It's a roadmap. The report is a roadmap. It's a guideline for how to build a profitable studio. It takes the guesswork out. So if you're wondering, well, how much a profitable studio is spending on marketing? What are they paying their coaches and trainers? How much are they paying in rent? You don't have to guess anymore, right? And the data is segmented. Well, this is the strength report. And so we have it segmented by city versus suburb. So we're not comparing Mark Fisher Fitness in Times Square to Mark and Mike's gym in Ithaca, New York, different markets. So the report is a roadmap. It's a blueprint full of answers to most owners' questions. When they say, well, what are other people doing? The report answers those questions.
I love it. Well, thank you again for your time and wisdom. And I'm excited to see what the BFS Network continues to do next. And I can't wait to have you back on. So thanks, Julian.
And thanks for your continued support, Michael.